Okay, party people, it's time to get started. Today is finally that day. It is time to wrap up everything I read in February. Wow. What a month. I found some great books this month, and I read, a decent amount of mediocre books as well. But such is life. A lot of those books that we read land somewhere in the middle, But I'm so excited to share them all with you, share my thoughts. And of course, while you're here, make sure you check to see if you're subscribed. Like, I don't want to be that person, but I was looking at some analytics and it was over half of you who watch don't subscribe. And I don't want to take that personally, but I kind of am at the moment. So if you'd like to see my next video, make sure you're subscribed. I love building our community, getting to chit chat about books. So if you'd like to stick around, the offer is open. But without further ado, because there's always, I always got stuff to say at the beginning of these videos. Like, let's get to the plot, you know what I'm saying? So, without further ado, let's get into all the books I read in February. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details of all the books that I read this month, we are going to start by taking a look at the data. And all the data I'm looking at, I will put on the screen for you to enjoy with me if you're also a data gal. So, I read 8 books this month, which is 2 more than last month. I feel pretty good about that. No pressure on myself to read a certain amount a month, but I do aim for about 7. So, we excelled a little bit this month. And let's look into the details of those 8 books. Taking a look at the moods of the books I read this month. The mood I read the most of is adventurous. 6 of the books had that quality. And the second one is less surprising to me. That was emotional. I am a little surprised I read so many adventurous reads. But I'm impressed with myself. Emotional is no surprise here. To be more specific, let's look at the genres. And it looks like of the 8, 7 were romance. It looks like 6 were fantasy and 4 were young adult. So no surprise there, but it was the season of love and the majority of what I read had romance in it. And I think that'll remain true for all of my days. So you know what? We just gotta accept that in ourselves. Format-wise, I read 5 print, 1 ebook, and 2 audiobooks. One thing that Storycraft doesn't have, but I wish it could track this as well, but I like to see where I'm consuming my content from, where I get the books from. So of these 8 books, 3 I owned, 5 I got from the library, 2 were audiobooks, 2 were graphic novels, the other 4 were novels. I am fibbing just a tad by saying 3 I owned, 5 I didn't, because right after I read one of these books from the library, I went out and bought it because I was like, I need to reread that next week, so gotta have that on the shelf. So you'll get the details later. Those are the big stats from this month. It looks like my average rating across all of these books was a 3.32. So without further ado, let's get into it. A lot of good, a lot of mediocre. So let's get into the actual books I read and their reviews. The first book I read this month was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm sure this book needs no introduction. It has gone more than viral, if there is something above viral on the internet. But this book is predominantly about a group of cadets that train to be an elite team of dragon riders, and only the best and greatest survive. I have quite conflicted feelings regarding this book. I loved the first half. The first half of this book was a 5-star, no doubt. I was so excited about where the story was going. I was so intrigued about the school they were in, what they were learning. The dragons hooked me immediately, and I was just immersed fully in what was happening. But after that first half, it took quite a sharp decline in my opinion. I felt like our main character had conflicting traits that didn't make a ton of sense. I felt like the world building started to feel shaky and not ironed out. And overall, quite predictable, and it just seemed like it suffered a lot considering where the book started. The quality just felt like it did decline from the beginning to the end. It leaves you on a cliffhanger, so I did pick up the second one later this month, and I'll discuss that. But all in all, I don't think this is an awful book. Truly, there are better books out there, but I think if you're new to reading, I think if you're new to fantasy, this is a really fun one to pick up that has a lot of elements. That was another thing I noted, is like she has used a lot of elements from other fantasy, but you know, I think she did it in a pretty good way. So I think if you're new to fantasy, you want to pick something up, this has a little bit of all of that for you, and I ended up giving it a 3.5. Next, the only book I don't have to physically show you is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This story is about a kingdom who is trying to eradicate ordinaries from their society, and one ordinary ends up making it into their purging trials games. Very much gives Hunger Games, without them realizing she's an ordinary. So that's like a general premise. This is a romantasy. This is a debut novel as well. Yet again, this book, I wanted to like it a lot, and I don't know that I loved it. Like, here's the thing. Did it make me feel like I was 14 again when I was eating up dystopian novels left and right? Yes. But did I feel like it was relying a little bit too much on this nostalgia factor versus like real story building? Yes, a bit for me. I think what was hard for me here is I'm all for romantasy. I'm all for tropes. I enjoy those being little story movers throughout a story, but I felt like this book was really relying on tropes alone, and I think she overused a lot of tropes. Like the dagger to the throat trope is like, okay, that's fun, but when you do it 6 times, like it really loses meaning. I felt like instead of the tropes being there to support the plot and support like the characters you're building, the relationship, it felt like it was just tropes that we were like moving through instead of there being more to it. I did like the ending of this one. I'm definitely going to be persuaded into picking up the next one, and I think her writing will just improve and improve. I loved our main male character too. I thought he was morally gray in a way that I did enjoy. So I'm not saying this novel is all bad by any means. It's just I have seen people like thrown 5 stars at this one, which is great if you felt that way. Unfortunately, it just didn't give that feeling to me, and that's kind of why I spent more time explaining why. But it really did feel like a trip down memory lane of books I used to read when I was 15. I'm sure if I was 15, it would have been a 5-star. So I definitely think there's a lot to enjoy in this story that people would like. All in all, I ended up giving Powerless a 3.25 stars. This is where the month really hit its stride. I picked up The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This book, also a book talk sensation. This is about a girly in STEM who stumbles into a fake dating situation with one of the hottie professors on her campus. She's trying to prove to a friend that she's over her ex, ends up kissing him, and the rest goes from there. I have been so against picking up an Ali Hazelwood because I did read one novella and didn't love it, but as we've discussed before, I don't know that I'm a novella gal. So when I tell you this book blew me away and I had such low expectations, it blew me away. The girlies knew what they were talking about when they were suggesting this one. It's so fun, super easy to read, and it has a very steamy, moody main character at the center of it that I myself enjoyed. If you need a palate cleanser, if you're in a book slump, I highly suggest picking something up from Ali Hazelwood. She knows how to lace these books with literal drugs. I don't know. It's amazing. This one ended up being a 4.25 from me. Next, I picked up Volume 5 in the Heartstopper series. This series is by Alice Oseman. This is an LGBTQ+ graphic novel series that really centers around the relationship between Nick and Charlie, but it also centers around their relationships with others and their friendships as well. This one was not my favorite installment in the series, but it did make me excited for volume 6, which, if you haven't heard, is going to be the final one in this series. It is a great, wholesome installment to the series by all means, and there were little moments that I really enjoyed between our main couple and them and their friends. I felt like a lot of important conversations did take place in this book. For me, it just felt like a lot was happening in the story, but I wasn't really connecting to my characters like I have in past installments. This one made me quite excited for the last installment, and I will be picking it up immediately when it comes out. This one ended up being a 3-star. Next is the book that was the highlight of this month for me. It is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Like I said, once I started reading her, I could not be stopped, okay? This one is about an arranged marriage between a vampire and an alpha werewolf. Enough said there. And it has a sprinkle of a mystery going on along with that. I do love a good intrigue, and this had it. Honestly, let's just, let me just read my Goodreads review for you so you can understand how crazy I am about this book. And also, if you aren't following me on Goodreads and you want to see in the moment kind of what I'm reading, what's happening, my reviews are there. So let me just give you a taste of the high I was on after reading this one. Oh my gosh, actually having to read this out loud is a little embarrassing, but we're gonna do it. It's for you. Oh my goodness. The dog in me loved the dog in this, but to be serious here, considering we're discussing paranormal matters, this book slapped. Her writing could get me out of any reading slump. This book was no different. Same voice as her other works, but in a new and fun way. I love that this book didn't take itself too seriously, but still packed the heat. More Omegaverse, here I come. If you have suggestions for books like this one, let a girl know. That's very true. Please let me know. This tale made me feral, pun fully intended, and I will not rest until Ali Hazelwood gives us more paranormal romance. I think that's all I need to say here. 5 fat stars. Let's move on. I read Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. This book revolves around an orphan girl who happens to have a lot of run-ins with death, but cannot die. I don't really know how else to describe this book. It is said to be a gothic-infused YA fantasy, but for me that remains to be seen. I felt like this was kind of a snooze fest. Our main character spent all this time trying to put these puzzle pieces together. Why can't she put any of this puzzle together? I just felt like I didn't love who we were following. She was very naive and a little annoying. She kind of gave Evangeline from Once Upon a Broken Heart, but worse, more annoying. The nail in the coffin for this book was the romance. I found it grody to the max, icky beyond belief. It was not for me, and that's just where we'll leave it. 275. As I mentioned earlier, I did end up reading the second installment in the Imperium. I think that's the name of the series. And this is when it's time for me to, have a come to Jesus moment and just be honest with y'all. This book straight up isn't good. I hope this book had an editor, except again, that remains to be seen. Really, I think the downfall of this book is she undid so many things that she established in the first book, and that doesn't sit right with me when I'm trying to understand a universe, my characters, and they just act completely different in the second book, and you're like, okay, so they're not the same people? It was really such a disappointment for me, and I have a laundry list of reasons. I do have those in my Goodreads review, but I think the most impactful thing to leave you with is that I will be stopping the series here and not continuing. I just don't think it can be revived for me, personally. I ended up giving it a 1.5. And finally, the last book I read in February was Demon in the Wood. This is by Leigh Bardugo and Dani Pendergast. This is a graphic novel origin story about Alexander the Darkling before he became the Darkling. So it's his origin story. Okay, I did not have to say it's his origin story and that it was before he became the Darkling. Read a book, Grace. Oh my gosh. Okay, this takes place in the Grishaverse. It's a companion to the Shadow and Bone series. I definitely enjoyed this one. I don't think it like changed my world or anything, but the art was beautiful. I love that it is the original author obviously working on this. It did make me like his mother less. It's complicated. It's a complicated story. I think it was so short and it's just a little glimpse that it was hard to connect with it deeply, but it was still an enjoyable read. I ended up giving it 3 stars. Thank you all for sitting through my rants and raves from this month. It is time to discuss arguably the most important part, which are my February favorites. Starting with the Shadow and Bone TV series on Netflix. Oh my gosh, when I tell you this show had me by the throat, girl, it had me by the throat. It slaps beyond belief. Duh. I am starting to feel a little sad because I watched it before reading the books. I know. And I know I picked up a graphic novel because I was missing the show. So I picked that up. But I just have heard so many conflicting things about the series that I was planning to just watch the show and then go into the Six of Crows duology. Let me know if you've read them, some of your thoughts. But I have been told that like the show is better than the books. So there's that. But I absolutely love this show. It's so good. If you need a new TV show, watch it. Go in knowing this cautionary tale that it did not get renewed. So we are not getting a season 3. And I find that to be criminal. And I think we should all write to Netflix and tell them they messed up. Can you believe that? Like, it breaks my heart every day. Can I be honest with y'all? This is a safe space. I have not watched the last 20 minutes of the last episode because I'm so devastated that it's the last episode. So I refuse to finish it. Anyways, that's where I'm at. That is my first favorite from February. Number 2 on my favorites list is the Culture Pop sodas. I had these for the first time this month and fell in love. My favorite 2 flavors, I got like a trial variety pack. My favorite 2 are the orange mango and the wild berry and lime. Oh my gosh, they are so good. They are kind of like other like probiotic, prebiotic sodas, except they have more of a real fruit taste. And I'm gonna need 5 a day until further notice. They're so good. My next favorite is something that has been a favorite for quite a long time, but I haven't talked enough about it on here and I haven't had it on a favorites list yet. So I'm going to show you my 2 newest additions to the collection that I got this month. They are my Jellycats. You guys, I don't know what it is about being a 25-year-old child, but these fuel my heart. Let's start by introducing my Amusable Pretzel. He's everything to me, the little legs. I can't handle how cute they are. Here's one of my newest, and the other one I got, the cup of espresso. I mean, come on. It's like I've never, ever seen something cuter. So these are the newest guys in the collection. I will hopefully find a very cute spot for them. But yes, Jellycats are everything to me. Don't make fun of me for being 5. Okay, moving onward, one favorite I wanted to talk a little bit about that I started really investing a lot of time in this month was Reformers Pilates. I have had such a hard time in the last year with staying consistent with exercise, and one, having workout classes that you have to pay for is a great motivator to go work out, but I've really been enjoying it. I'm proud of myself for being consistent with it, and I've honestly just been loving how difficult and challenging it can be and how rewarding it is to like stick with it and slowly but surely be getting better at it. And the last favorite I have to share with you guys today are my book merch, Crewnecks. I live in these. I Can't get enough of them. They're so cozy and yet so cute. So I'm gonna tell you where these both are from. This one says Book Lovers. I got this for myself as kind of a Valentine's gift to myself. But this one is from Jordan J. Co. I will leave it in the description. I got it on her Etsy and I'm just obsessed with it. And the other one I showed says written by Emily Henry. This one is from House of Jupiter. I will also leave it linked. My bestie got it for me for my birthday and it is so cozy. Hers are comfort colors and I have a new obsession now with comfort colors. I'd never really had anything from that before. So love these. So cute. I love the embroidery. Oh, living in them. Literally living in them. Thank you guys so much for being here for my wrap up. I had such a great month. I'm so excited going into March, going into spring, and I just can't wait to share more books with you along the way. But in the meantime, leave a pink heart in the comments so I know you made it this far, and let me know your favorite book that you read in February so we can give recommendations for each other. That's what it's all about. Okay, I really do be feeling like I'm doing the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. No? No one? Yeah. Okay, I need to wrap it up because clearly I'm losing brain cells. So, you guys know what time it is. It's time to love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.